The prairie sun hung low in the western sky, spilling its molten light across the endless horizon of gold and dust, where herds of cattle moved like slow rivers of flesh and hide, their calls echoing into the wind. And there, in the heart of it all, stood the widow, Clara Mayfield, her hair tied back beneath a worn bonnet, her dress clinging to her frame from the heat, her pale blue eyes carrying both the steel of survival and the sorrow of a woman who had buried too much too young. She had buried her husband 2 winters ago when fever swept through the valley, taking with it not only the man she loved, but also her sense of safety, leaving her with a crumbling ranch, a few stubborn horses, and the whispers of townsfolk who doubted a woman could hold the land alone. Yet Clara stood tall every day, mending fences, breaking colts, and staring down debt collectors with a fire that matched the dry winds. It was on such a day, when sweat rolled down her neck and the taste of dust clung to her lips, that he rode into her life, the cowboy, the one folks called Maddox Kane, a drifter with a reputation carved in whiskey, duels, and whispered tales of women who still sighed his name long after he had gone. He rode in on a chestnut stallion, the kind of beast that matched its master, muscular, restless, untamed, with a wide-brimmed hat pulled low, a half-smile hidden beneath a shadow of stubble, and eyes the color of a storm about to break. Clara's heart jolted against her ribs when she first saw him at the fence line, not because she was the kind of woman to swoon, but because there was something about Maddox's gaze that stripped her bare, as if he could see through the armor she wore to survive. And for the first time in years, she felt the heat of being alive in a way that had nothing to do with the sun. Maddox dismounted slow, his boots crunching against the dry earth, his spurs whispering with each step, and when he spoke, his voice was low, gravel smooth, a man who had said little, but meant every word. "You got a fine herd, ma'am, but I reckon fine herds ain't what keeps a body warm come nightfall." And Clara stiffened, her jaw tightening, because she had heard men talk like that before. Swaggering cowhands who thought a widow was easy prey. But something in Maddox's tone was different, less like a jest and more like a confession, and before she could summon a reply, he stepped closer, his shadow falling across her, the scent of leather and dust wrapping around her like a dangerous comfort, and he whispered the words that would burn into her soul forever. "I'd trade 10 herds for 1 night inside you." The words hung in the air, like gun smoke after a shot, dangerous, forbidden, and intoxicating, and Clara felt her knees weaken, though she refused to show it, clutching the fence rail as if it could anchor her, her voice shaking but defiant when she finally managed. "You'd best be careful with talk like that, mister. A woman's virtue ain't something you buy or bargain for." But Maddox's half-smile deepened, not mocking, not cruel, just knowing, as though he had already seen the secret she tried so hard to bury, that loneliness can cut deeper than hunger, and longing can drive a woman to madness. Their eyes locked in the fading light, and for a moment, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. The cattle stopped lowing, The wind stilled, and only the unspoken tension between a scarred cowboy and a stubborn widow filled the space between heaven and earth.